Under the red-gold blaze of a Wyoming sunset, the town of Redemption sat quiet, its dirt streets lined with shuttered windows and gossip carried in the breeze. A man rode in from the horizon, tall in the saddle, lean as the shadows that stretched behind him. His name was Clayton McGraw, Clay to those few who knew him. A drifter, a cowboy with a gun at his hip and a past he never spoke of. He had no ties to any town, no reason to linger anywhere for long. That was, until his eyes found Eleanor Hayes. The widow Hayes, as she was called in whispers that slithered through Redemption like smoke. Her husband had been dead 2 years, a man both wealthy and cruel, and though black still draped her form, she no longer seemed cloaked in grief. She moved with quiet grace, eyes dark as storm clouds, lips pressed tight as if she carried secrets too dangerous to speak. To Clay, she was not the widow the town pitied or judged. She was a flame he couldn't look away from. The first time he saw her, she was stepping from her buggy outside the mercantile, skirts brushing the dust, gloved fingers clutching a parcel. She lifted her eyes, and when their gazes met, something sharp and hot flared between them. Her breath caught. He saw it. She turned quickly, but the moment carved itself into him, leaving him restless, needing more. He should have walked away. He should have left Redemption before the pull grew roots. But each evening, his horse carried him past her ranch, past the porch where she sometimes sat alone, lantern light pooling around her like a halo. And each evening, his chest ached with wanting. One night, as the crickets sang and the sky bruised purple, he stopped at the fence line. She rose from her chair, startled. He touched his hat. Evening. His voice was roughened by dust and desire. Her fingers tightened around the porch rail. You shouldn't be here, Mr. McGraw. He leaned in his saddle, eyes never leaving hers. And yet here I am. Her breath trembled, though she said nothing more. But Clay didn't need words. The look in her eyes was enough. The storm came a week later. Rain swept across the plains, lightning tearing the night apart. Clay took shelter in the old barn on her property, shaking the water from his hat. He thought he'd be alone. But the door creaked open, and there she was, soaked to the skin, dark hair clinging to her cheeks, eyes wide at the sight of him. Clayton, she whispered, his name breaking from her lips like a secret she'd been dying to tell. His chest tightened. Didn't reckon you'd come out in weather like this. I had no choice, she breathed, though she didn't explain. Perhaps she hadn't meant to. Perhaps fate had meant to drive her to him. He stepped forward, boots crunching straw, the distance between them shrinking with every heartbeat. Her body trembled, though not from the cold. He reached out, brushing a raindrop from her cheek with calloused fingers. She shuddered beneath his touch. I've tried to stay away, he said, his voice rough with truth. God knows I've tried. But every day I want you more. Her lips parted, her breath hot against the air between them. If they find out. Let 'em, he growled. I'll face the whole damn world if it means one night with you. Lightning split the sky, and in that wild, breathless moment, their mouths crashed together. The kiss was fierce, desperate, years of loneliness burning away in one reckless fire. His hands gripped her waist, pulling her close, her fingers tangling in his wet shirt as though she'd drown without him. The barn filled with the heat of them, the storm outside no match for the storm they'd unleashed within. From that night on, there was no return. They met in secret, shadows their only witnesses. In the Cartonwood Grove, by the riverbank, in the barn where the scent of hay mixed with the taste of their longing. Every touch was forbidden, every kiss a defiance against a town that would brand them sinners. He pressed her against the rough wood, his lips trailing her throat as she gasped his name. She clutched at him, desperate, alive in ways she hadn't felt in years. With him, she wasn't just the widow left behind. She was Eleanor, flesh and fire, a woman who wanted, who needed. And for Clay, she wasn't just temptation. She was salvation, the only thing that tethered his restless soul. But Redemption was a town of sharp eyes and sharper tongues. Whispers grew. The widow's sudden glow. The drifters' frequent absences. The way their gazes lingered too long at Sunday service. It wouldn't be long before whispers turned to judgment. One evening, Eleanor stood before her mirror, brushing out her hair. Clay slipped in through the back door, silent as a shadow. Their eyes met in the glass, and she froze, her breath faltering. "Clay," she whispered, torn between fear and longing. "It isn't safe." He came behind her, hands sliding to her waist, lips close to her ear. "Safe don't mean a damn thing to me." Her body trembled, her brush falling to the floor. "You'll ruin us both." "Then let me," he murmured, his breath hot against her skin. "I'd trade 10 herds, 10 lives, for just one night inside your arms." She turned, her resistance shattering. Their mouths met again, slower this time, but no less intense, the heat simmering until it threatened to consume them both. But passion this wild drew danger. Eleanor's late husband had left behind enemies and brothers with long memories, men who still believed her name was theirs to guard. Clay had his own past, men with grudges and guns eager to settle scores. They were walking a line sharp enough to bleed them both. Still, neither could stop. One night beneath the cottonwoods, she pressed her face to his chest, her tears dampening his shirt. "If they find out." "Then let 'em," he said fiercely, holding her tighter. "Ain't no power strong enough to tear me from you." Her heart ached with fear and love all at once. She knew he meant it. And it terrified her almost as much as it thrilled her, because she'd rather burn with him than fade alone. It was inevitable. One night, with half the town watching, Clay rode up to her porch. He dismounted, boots hitting the dirt hard, his eyes locked on hers. She stood frozen in the lantern light, every nerve screaming with fear and desire. He climbed the steps, took her face in his hands, and kissed her. Gasps rose from the crowd gathered across the street. Whispers hissed like snakes. But Clay didn't care. His kiss was fierce, claiming, daring anyone to stop him. And Eleanor didn't stop him. She melted into him, arms winding around his neck, answering him with a passion just as reckless, just as undeniable. They knew the cost. They knew the danger. But some loves couldn't be hidden, couldn't be smothered. Some loves were worth the fire. Breathless, his forehead pressed to hers, Clay whispered the vow that had been burning in him all along. "You're mine, Eleanor. Always. Come what may." Her reply was soft but steady, carved from the core of her being. "And you are mine." And there, with the town watching, with danger closing in, with the night hot and wild around them, they surrendered. To desire. To love. To the forbidden fire that would brand their souls forever. Because in a world of dust and death, of gossip and guns, a love like theirs, dangerous, desperate, unforgettable, was the only thing worth risking everything for.